I was producing content faster than I had ever before. Newsletters were drafted, scripts outlined, videos planned, the pipeline was moving. And on the surface, it looked fine. Clean sentences, coherent structures, nothing embarrassing. And that was the problem. Fine doesn't build trust. I'd been letting AI decide what mattered, which meant nobody reading or watching could feel that I did. This video is for the person already using AI in their workflow, their content workflow, not the person debating whether to start. So if you're producing output at speed and quietly sensing something is off, this is exactly what's happening, and here's the fix. Now, real quick, if you're building for real leverage instead of grinding harder, subscribe. This channel breaks down digital leverage and creative autonomy practically. So here's the situation I assume you're in if you're watching up to this point. You've done the work most people haven't. You've identified the problem worth solving. You packaged something real or planning to. You built a content system to pull the right people toward it. And you brought AI in to move faster, which makes complete sense. The trap isn't the tool. The trap is the order. You gave AI your beliefs, your product context, maybe even your philosophy, like me. That's what I did. In one sitting with enough detail that it felt thorough. And now it generates fast, consistently, and the output is technically correct. But something is hollow, right, about it. You can feel it even when you can't name it. And that feeling is real, not crazy, by the way. It's not imposter syndrome, it's your judgment detecting that the thinking has been outsourced and that the content no longer has a person behind it in any way the reader or the watcher can feel. So this isn't a personal failure, right? I created this video from my own experience with creating shallow, hollow, slop, AI slop. So it's not a personal failure by any means, it's a structural one. AI was marketed as a creative accelerant. The incentive always pushed towards speed. Trust erosion, however, is slow and invisible until the pipeline produces nothing that converts. So the mistake wasn't using AI, it was the order. So let me just be specific about what went wrong in my own workflow so that maybe if that aligns with your reality, you can learn something and change something. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Around my third and fourth YouTube videos on this channel, I have started and stopped so many times, but I started again. So this new restart, around my third and fourth YouTube videos, they were built on newsletters where AI had written roughly 80% of the content. And at the time, I was actually feeling lazy or uninspired because the content ideas were also AI generated. So I just didn't resonate and I just felt to write the whole newsletter. So at the time, it just felt like efficiency. Just like, you know what, here's the outline, Claude, ChatGPT, whatever I was using. Finish this thing for me. I've started with at least 20%, finish the whole thing for me. So, I was filling the pipeline, wanted to move fast, giving the algorithm something to index. But in the process, I had handed AI the thinking, not just the execution. And that's the problem. So let's look at this for a moment. This is the structural error. The mistake wasn't using AI, it was the order. So this is the amplification versus replacement. So on the one side, we have AI replaces your thinking. So generic prompt, regardless of how detailed it is, it's still generic because it lacks your initial input. We'll talk about that later. So you describe the idea once and step back. AI generates the angle, the frame, the claim, draws on the average of its training, not your constraint. It looks fine, it's technically correct, but it's humanly empty, interchangeable with anyone else's output. And then we have this part where AI amplifies. So AI executes your thinking. You write the constraint, the angle, the specific claim from lived experience before AI touches it. AI drafts, structures, formats, executes faster what you already know. Output has texture, specific detail, and the person behind it. So readers or watchers can feel the difference even if they can't name it. So yeah, that's the difference between those two things. That sounds subtle and isn't. When AI executes your thinking, it produces faster what you already know. When AI replaces your thinking, it produces faster what anyone could have generated because it's drawing on the average of everything it was trained on, not on your specific lived constraint. So as for me, the content I was producing was conceptually correct, but and structurally sound, but it was completely interchangeable with content any other creator could have produced using or running the same similar or detailed prompt. No specific detail, no constraint evidence, no person behind it. And here's the part that makes this trap so effective. It looks so fine, clean. Clean sentences don't flag the problem, right? Coherent structure doesn't flag the problem. You can publish 5 videos before the gap becomes visible. And by then you've trained an audience, however small, to expect a certain kind of emptiness from you. So there's a trust erosion that happens without you even knowing because speed is visible, trust erosion isn't. So, week one, your output volume is up, pipeline is moving, feels like progress, momentum. By week four, it still looks fine, nothing nothing obviously wrong. You keep going. By week 8, you have volume, you're getting rich, but no clicks, no replies, no leads. You're not sure why. And by week 12, there's a gap you can't explain, and the drift started in week 1. So, yeah, for me, the content looked fine, and that was the problem. Fine doesn't build trust, and I had been letting AI decide what mattered. So, at the end of the day, speed is measurable. You can see output volume. Trust erosion is invisible until it becomes a gap you can't explain. So, you just no clicks, nothing. It's just dead content. It just falls in a notion of AI slop. And you're not sure when it started, right? And that's a lot of energy wasted. And that's the cost, not a bad video, a slow, silent drift toward irrelevance. So real quick, if this is where you are right now, producing content that moves but doesn't land, I put together a short framework called the 7-day wealth reset. Sounds corny, but it's actually legit. I can bet my money on it. It helps you rethink how you're spending your time and start building the first layer of real leverage. The link is in the description. Let's move on. So, where the vote first approach came from. After my third and fourth videos, I made a decision that felt costly at the time. I'm a person with judgment, with taste, and even I could feel that there's something wrong with my videos. I think you should go check. I mean, they're not bad. They are the third and fourth videos actually, though. They're not really bad per se. From a conceptual, philosophical, or doctrine of my brand and my product and everything that I'm trying to put out in the world and impact people with. The videos were okay, but I just didn't want more philosophy. I wanted a tangible content that actually gives somebody a narrow win. And those videos were just like fluff, like not fluff, though they had weight in terms of like my philosophy, my vision, my constraints, but just didn't have weight to them. It's the stuff that AI can generate very well if you explain it, if you explain to it with enough detail. But I needed more content, something with weight that helps somebody, something where somebody watches a video, reads a newsletter, they go, holy shit, this is actually really good. This could help me, or it unlocks something in their mind. I don't know if that makes sense. So yeah, I made a decision that felt costly at the time because the videos were just hollow. Like they were okay, but I was like, yeah, meh, meat. That's what the kids call it today, right? So I scrapped the strategy entirely, not the tools, the order, because the real problem wasn't AI. So if you remove AI entirely and everyone using it moves faster than you, so that's just stupid, right? Don't hate the player, hate the game. I don't know if that applies here, but I'm essentially playing devil's advocate for the AI too. It's okay. It's how you use it. So the problem was that I had no vote. Vote here is just my own lingo, my own term. What I mean is there was no human input. Every time you run a prompt, you want to generate ideas, you want to write something, create some content, you have to feed it with um, real constraints, at least constraints that you have written down that very week, that you have experienced, that you can remember from the top of your head, and solutions also in those inputs. Your input, your human input, right? That's relevant to what you want your content to be. Every time, not just they'll dump all of your thoughts one time to Claude or ChatGPT and hope that it will just keep on uh, generating stuff for you from there. Yeah, so the problem was that I had no vote. My camera here has a problem. Okay. Yes. Okay. So yeah, no raw human input running upstream of the AI workflow. So the AI was fragmenting ideas from product it couldn't actually read, inferring from what I had described, defaulting to generic doctrine when specifics ran out. Garbage in, polished, garbaged out. And this is where the vote first, um, human upstream, AI downstream. So I call this the 70-30 rule for my content. So the vote, you write 7 constraints per week. It doesn't have to be 7, it has to be whatever you're comfortable with, whatever flows naturally to your mind. Specific frictions, decisions, lived observations, raw and polished. Only you could have written these. And then you AI content ideas. AI generates ideas generated from your constraints, aligns to the product grounded in the vote. And then you write a newsletter. AI outlines, obviously, you write into it, not give AI to write because it's going to write based on the average of the data that it's trained. So you give it the input and then you expand on that input. The voice, the specific claim, the constraint evidence that's yours. And then You AI turns that into a script, a finished newsletter, and newsletter converts to YouTube script, structure, pacing, CTA placement, handled by the workflow, and then video plus distribution. You record, publish, fragment to shorts. The vote made it specific enough to convert. That's it. So that's the vote first approach. That's how it works, right? Every week I write 7 constraints, specific frictions, decisions, observations, all anchored to my pen and product and the product and the pen my product addresses. That's the raw input. And from there, then the vote feeds into layered AI workflows, content ideas generated from constraints, newsletters, etc., etc., etc. So the ratio comes out as 70% human input, 30% AI execution. So not as a rule imposed from outside, as a ratio that actually produces content with texture, content with a specific person in a specific situation reads it and thinks this person has been where I am. And that's the conversion mechanism, not reach, not volume, one specific reader feeling seen. So here's the 5 piece audit, right? So here's how to find out where you actually stand right now. I'll put a 2 in the description somewhere. So you pull the last 5 pieces of content, or if you can just feel that your content doesn't have weight to it. For each one, ask a single question: is there a specific detail in this that required my lived experience to generate? So yeah, this is the 5 piece audit. So it's not a general insight someone could have read anywhere, not a framework any prompt could have produced, a specific constraint, a real decision, a moment only you could have documented. If the answer is no, it's AI first, you flag it, and then you follow this strategy of creating content with AI. 70% human input, AI execution, 30% AI execution. So when you've run that question across all 5 pieces, you have a short list, vote anchored on one side, AI amplified on the other. If the ratio is inverted, more AI first than human first, then that's the fix. Not a new tool, not a new strategy. A vote document in the habit of writing, do it before anything else runs. So here's what you can do this week. One action, one sitting, open a blank document, write 7 constraints from the last 30 days, specific frictions, decisions, or observations tied to the problem you produce or to the product the problem your product or content addresses. Not polished, not structured, just the raw material, what you went into. What you figured out, what cost you something before you solved it. The document is your vote entry for the week. It doesn't get published, it feeds everything that does. Done looks like 7 constraints, written and polished, specific, something only you could have produced. If you finish that and look at what you've written, and if it feels more alive than anything you published last month, you will know what was missing. So now here's where we are right now. I have to show you how to show you this. We have 70% human, 30% AI execution on your constraint, your judgment, your lived experience. So you know the difference between AI amplifying your thinking and AI replacing it. You know why clean output isn't the same as trusted output. And you have one specific action that starts the rebuild, not by removing the tools, but by restoring the order. The next question is, once you have the vote, how do you build the workflow that turns it into content, product, and leads systematically? That's what the next video covers. Subscribe if you want that, and if you're ready to build the full system, the Vote content engine and first scalable product, the link to the leverage launch plan is in the description. Start with the 7-day wealth reset first. So if that action this week raised more questions than it answered, that's the point. The next step is the leverage launch plan, where everything is structured and you don't have to waste much time. With that being said, my friend, thanks for watching. Catch you in the next.